Have everybody here?
Yes, I show everyone is here.
All right, so let's get started. Call the meeting, City Council regular meeting of Tuesday, January 18th. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Hasselbrick?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dobie?
Here.
Councilmember Bates?
Here.
Councilmember Turco?
Here.
Councilmember Nafolda?
Here.
All right, so we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Nafolda, followed by the invocation from Councilmember Turco. If you all stand with me.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it serves, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. Today, I would like to ask for guidance for the City Council to do what is right for our city, for our residents, and our businesses, and to serve as good examples of leadership in tough times. We hope and pray for the health, safety, and welfare of our city staff, including our police department, personnel, as well as all first responders. And we pray that our country will somehow move past some of the divisiveness that unfortunately continues to plague us, and that we're also able to move past this pandemic before too long and to return to normalcy and peace in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, any individual that's online may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker. City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
We did not receive any written requests. I do see 2 residents on the line. If you wouldn't mind, I'll just ask them if they'd like to comment.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
I do show 2 residents on the line. I've asked you to unmute. If you'd like to speak at the council meeting now, please go ahead and unmute. Okay. It looks like neither one would like to make comments at this time.
Okay, so I'll bring it back to council comments. We'll go ahead and start with Councilman Turco.
Thank you, Mayor. In the last month, I attended the Orange County Sanitation District Board of Directors meeting. Councilman Bates is taking over my role there. I have not heard much from the Sanitation District this month, so I assume you're all set to go, Councilman Bates, is that right?
Right, I just submitted all the paperwork, Mark, and I'm up for their next meeting later this month.
Okay, excellent. I also fielded numerous calls regarding the COVID testing site at the community center, which is for some concerned residents and others about the number of individuals who were there for testing, which I guess speaks to the fact that the testing site was a success, but perhaps more than anticipated. So that has now been closed and moved over to Cyprus. City Manager Simmons, correct? That's at the racetrack?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Also fielded some calls regarding the waste hauler transition, some issues that arose there. Those appear to have been handled by the waste hauler. For the most part, positive feedback is what I'm hearing, at least in my neighborhood. And then earlier today, I was pleased to be able to attend the Walk of Honor for retiring Chief Eric Nunez, which was wonderful. It was really impressive. City Manager Simmons did a great job speaking, and as always, so did Chief Nunez. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Nafolda.
Yes, good evening. Got very little to report. Unfortunately, the family and I all contracted COVID, so we've been suffering. But I would like to just make a note that I think the transition went very smooth, at least in the multi-unit housing. I kind of, paid attention, and even up and down, as you look up and down the alleys, I don't know if this is just because they started. I hope it continues, but it looks like they're sweeping things and picking things up, like big items, Christmas trees and everything. So I would like to report, it looks like it was a very smooth transition, and like I said, up and down in the alleys, it looks a lot cleaner. So hope they keep it up.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Bates.
Yes, like Mark and the last comment on the waste transition, I've been getting a lot of good comments too in terms of the look of the new trucks that are in the neighborhoods, the fact that the trash cans got transitioned out fairly quickly. And I appreciate the fact that the staff is going to do a good job at, along with Universal Waste, at getting information out where it wasn't necessarily attached to the trash can to the residents to tell them how to handle their food waste and where that goes and how to handle it with the green cans. Also, I guess the question is going to be, are we going to supply through Universal Waste, and this is more a question, I guess, of staff, any kind of containers in the house that our residents can use to store the food waste that then would eventually find their way into the green can. So I guess that'll be a question, and I don't know if Chet has the answer to that yet or not, or Ron Noda may know with regard to whether or not we're going to supply any kind of a container so that residents can use a container in the house for food waste.
Okay, is that it for you, Ron?
Well, I've got two other quick things, but if either Chet or Ron can answer that question, I think that would be helpful for the residents to know, because I've already gotten a question on that. What are we supposed to do with the food waste? And do we just haul it out, or how do we get it to where it's supposed to go?
And sir, Mayor, if I may, I can answer that real quickly. Mr. Bates, that is one thing that we are looking at right now. We do have an item that will come back to the City Council at a future meeting, which will be a update on everything trash related, and this will be a topic that will be addressed at that time. It's something that we're still discussing with the provider.
Great, thank you. So my other 2 points are the last meeting of the library, and we just got a note from Julie Gilman, the librarian. In case any of you are looking for some fun, the library now has a full set of game boards that you can take your family and play all kinds of board games there at the libraries. They have access to that, which I think is really kind of a nice recreation that families can use at our library to have some fun with the whole family. So that's coming out of our libraries. The second and the last thing is I attended a fairly lengthy meeting of the League of California Cities, which was online as part of the Revenue and Taxation Committee. It had all the committee meetings. It was just an orientation toward league work this year. And I would make the one comment that we're still have to keep working on, and that is the transition on the sales tax. And it got through Revenue and Taxation, but when it got to the full league board, the cities that were benefiting directly by being those cities where the distribution centers were located showed up in mass to the league board meeting and the General Assembly, and basically put a stall on the action. So it will need to go back to the full league after it's further discussed. And I pointed out to our staff member that it's been discussed in my recollection over 20 years. So I'm not sure that the city managers are going to add anything new, but obviously there's pressure to try to get this resolved so that it's a fair distribution of the sales tax. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Doby, you're up.
Hey. All right, I've got a little bit of a long one. I've got several things I would like to cover. I attended my mosquito and vectors committee, and our board meetings. We're still meeting remotely. And fun fact, we have to vote every month now to continue to meet remotely. I also have to do that for my Human Relations Committee. We'll probably stay remote indefinite for that one. I would like to do a shout out to Larry Strather for working with Tony from the Chamber to coordinate meals for the CHP officers to get their Christmas meals. And they collaborated with California Cocina to get that done. And that, my friends, is the beauty of networking. Tony reached out to me, I reached out to Emmeline reached out to Larry, and we all got together and got the CHP officers fed for Christmas. And I also would like to shout out Art at Madeiras because he again provided meals for the VA hospital. And I think he increased by like 100 meals. He did over 300 meals this year. And even if that number isn't accurate, it was still a very impressive amount of numbers. My husband and I walked over and checked out his board, and it makes my heart happy. I don't know if I've shared with you guys at AIM Mail Center, they sell shipping supplies, but they also accept pre-posted DHL, UPS, FedEx, and USPS packages. That's super helpful if you're a shipper like me and you utilize all four. My food shout outs are dinner at Adalberto's Mexican food. They have carne fries and breakfast burritos all day. And they are worth the little hop skip over there. It's right next to the 7-Eleven. And then the chicken and potato wedges from Pittsburgh on Catella. They are right across the street from me, and it was my first time eating there. Oh, highly recommend. And then for more serious business, I was at the Walk of Honor for the chief as well. And it really was such a nice service considering. Like you always want to, when someone gives their 30 plus years, you feel like there should be more. But they made the most out of the situation that we had, and it was still very nice. I was honored as the hero of the heart for Ross Elementary. Y'all might have seen me. I was on the front page of the paper a couple of times, and people texting me, "Hey, you're in the paper." I'm like, "For what?" And no one would tell me for what. They just kept congratulating me. But it was, I don't know, it was really nice, and it's a reminder of the good of service. Like when you do from the heart, eventually, sometimes people acknowledge it. It was really nice. If you want to YouTube it and hear people sing praises to me, it'll be worth your 15 minutes. Then I would lastly like to address a few issues that I've gotten emails about. So, and I think that I'll just start doing that because I don't want people to think that I don't respond to their emails. Whenever a resident emails me, I do try to go and get an answer, but I cannot just give you an answer because I do not have the power to get whatever it is done in my own accord. I got to call in for backup, city manager. But to the vendor display that's on Los Alamos Boulevard in front of the Vons, I would just like to share what the two issues are. One, a few years ago, the state initiated a law that took effect that effectively requires cities to permit street vendors as long as they are not blocking access or impeding traffic. To that point, this vendor does have a valid permit to sell their items, and a review of their location and setup shows that they are in compliance with state law. The second is, of course, the First Amendment protects everyone's right to speech and expression, which includes their right to use questionable language. And while we have requested that they not display flags or banners or apparel, which what some might consider offensive language, they are within their rights to do so. So we understand that many are not appreciative of their use of expletives, but the city, we are not able to regulate an individual's right to expression or their political view. That being said, the city will continue to monitor their activities to ensure they are in compliance with the applicable rules and regulations. Typically, whenever I drive by, I do see that there is a law enforcement officer either just leaving or showing up or even having a conversation with the vendors. So just so that everyone is aware, we are all aware and doing whatever is within our realm of possibility, but there's not a lot that can be done. But what can be done is being done. And then lastly, while we're talking about waste haulers, I guess I'm in the only area where I haven't heard all of the glory things yet. There's just a few things like if we could get a sizing and pricing matrix. I've heard a lot of kind of misunderstandings with who our last vendor was and what their pricing was. And I don't think it's been made very clear what their pricing was going to be. So maybe if we could get that information out and available, then people won't feel like, well, this price has gone up exponentially. Well, no, it didn't go up as high as it was projected to. And then also if we could get some information on bin sizes. I've also heard we have single family homes, but there's only one person living there. So if there is a smaller option for them or, something so that everybody can get what they actually need. So no one's overpaying and no one's under resourcing themselves, something along those lines. Is that something that we can do? I see you nodding your head, Mr. Chet, so I'm going to allow you to get all that out.
So, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, if I may, just for a second, I did want to say that the very topics that you're bringing up, they are well-founded, and it is going to be the subject of our presentation to the council at an upcoming meeting. I do want to get into the different sizes that are available. We also have found that there is a possibility of adding an additional bin that residents will be able to request that we'll need to establish a fee for if the council so desires, but also to provide this matrix that the Vice Mayor is talking about, where we really take a look at what exactly the prices are and what they were and what they would have been if we had gone with another vendor. I think that that'll go a long way to definitely clearing up some of the misunderstanding out there as to what exactly the rates are and the benefit that that contract delivers to the city.
Thank you.
All right. So a little bit busy month. The former mayor didn't appropriately warn me of all the mayor's meetings that we have on Zoom. So I had an Orange County District 2 call with Katrina Foley's office. And although she is not currently our supervisor anymore, she absolutely promised to be our caretaker if needed. We're still trying to arrange a meet and greet with Andrew Doe, who is our new supervisor, effective now, I believe. So she talked a lot about COVID and, just the different statistics. And then we had an Orange County mayor's call, same thing. We talked a lot about COVID. The general consensus seems to be by the end of the month, we're going to see cases dramatically go down just because everybody's had it. Santa Claus brought a big old basket of COVID to our family. So we're now out of the woods and everything. It wasn't too serious, but it definitely takes you down for a while. And then we also had a state mayor's meeting and pretty much addressed the same thing. They talked about certain mandates that they're trying to fight as cities kind of band together. So that was always helpful. I did attend the honor walk earlier today for retired Chief Eric. And we were at the absolute safest place on the planet. I've never seen so many police officers from so many jurisdictions in my life. But it was very well from his past cities to where he lives in Fullerton. I mean, it was a very, very nice representation. All of staff was there. It was just really great. Some of the school district members were there. So that was awesome. And then I also, tonight, I do want to close in memory of Marv Jemsa. He passed away last week at the ripe old age of 95. He was one of the original owners in Suburbia, along with his wife, Alice, who passed away in 2017, I believe. He was a World War II Navy veteran, and everybody in the neighborhood knew Marv. And if you didn't know him, you were going to get to know him. He loved to stop and chat and have visitors over, and just the kindest, sweetest man I've ever met. He will be sorely, sorely missed, and a huge piece of history went away with his passing. So just want to extend all the condolences to the family and his caretaker, Carlos, who became one of the family. He was just amazing, and everybody knew Carlos. So, and with that, I'll move that over to comments from the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very briefly, I'd like to actually kick it over to our support services manager, Robert Acosta, and allow him to give you a snapshot of the current COVID situation and then also how it relates to our workforce here. Robert?
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor Hasselberg, Council, and staff. Just like our city manager said, I'll provide a COVID status update. A city status update on COVID. Some of the stuff I'll be talking about, and I promise I won't take too much of your time, has already been touched on by Councilman Shirko and Mayor Hasselbrink. But as we're all aware, there's no secret, COVID-19 in the nation and state, and also locally, has seen an unprecedented spike, and it's directly related to the Omicron variant. And this is what we started to experience around Thanksgiving. A few days ago, the nation reported well over 1 million cases nationally. That was the single highest day total yet. And hopefully that was going to be the last highest day total. Currently in Orange County, conditions are of serious concern still and can best be described as widespread. If you remember the colored tier system in the past, we would be in the highest tier, the most restrictive, which would be purple. And it would be pretty much pegged out in that purple tier. So that's why we're the healthcare agency and other entities are saying it's still pretty serious. It's still very serious. Today, Orange County reported over 24,000 cases. That's the single highest day yet. To put this into context, that 24,000 cases reported today, when you compare it to the sustained period of less than 100 cases a day for weeks on end prior to the surge. So we're still seeing a significant spike, and we can anticipate a percentage of those ending up in our hospitals. And currently, the positivity rate in Orange County is over 28%. In other words, almost 1 in 3 people testing have COVID. Prior to the Omicron variant, the highest we saw positivity rate was 1 in 10. So that's another significant jump. The CDC, CDPH, and OSHA have modified the COVID safety protocols 3 times in the last 4 weeks. We are adjusting the relevant workplace practices to reflect these changes, but it is challenging, and we appreciate the patience as we work on compliance. An example of a relevant change was when the CDC reduced the quarantine period from 10 days to 5 days. They made the announcement late December, but the regulatory agencies that we are mandated to comply with did not adopt that 5-day rule for almost 2 weeks. So you can see that when it says the CDC issues something, we still can't really follow that new guidance until it's adopted by OSHA or CDPH. And that was presenting its own unique challenges. Internally, we have experienced a significant increase of employees out due to COVID. This increase made it difficult to maintain continuity of operations. It's a challenge that your staff met, but it significantly impacted our workforce. A good example of this would be the police department, which was hit especially hard. This required officers to work out of class to maintain public safety. We had detectives and other specialties out in the field patrolling and keeping our streets safe. This month alone, we've tracked, just since January 1st, we've tracked or monitored over 40 cases internally. So just to put that in context, that's well over 40% of our workforce has been impacted by this pandemic. Thankfully, they weren't all at the same time, because that would have been a whole other challenge that would have been tough to deal with. We do anticipate to see a few more cases in the upcoming weeks, and we're preparing as if that's going to be happening. And as Mayor Hasselbrink said, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Currently, Europe has seen a significant decrease in the cases. Over the course of the pandemic, the U.S. has mirrored Europe's peaks and valleys, typically with a few months delay, suggesting we are in this crisis until mid-February. In our nation, the East Coast is starting to see a decrease in the daily case counts, and that further supports this theory that we're only a few weeks away from a significant decrease. Here at home, we continue to monitor the health and safety practices internally, and this is to provide for health and safety of our employees and the public. We have recently acquired a modest supply of rapid antigen tests from the county. This will be instrumental in protecting our workforce and keeping the spread as minimal as we can. And as Councilman Chirko was talking about, the COVID testing kiosk that was in front of the community center was inundated beyond capacity. We're to the point where they were actually running out of tests by the end of the day. So with that, we temporarily ceased the operations there. We relocated to the Los Alamitos racetrack. It opened on Monday, and it's as of today, which was day 3, it's been running smoothly, and the lines are much more manageable. And that's the end of the report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Mayor, if I can, I just wanted to again say that, you know, while it has been challenging, my hat is off to the staff who, you know, regardless of their status, are calling in, working remotely. I had a department head today that had to be told not to be on the Zoom call tonight for the council meeting. So while it is challenging, everyone is pulling together and they are getting the work done at the end of the day. So it is very impressive. I did want to mention one other item that I would like to pull from the agenda, and that would be item 9G. There's just some corrections that need to be made to that item, and we'll bring it back to you on the at the next council meeting on the 7th.
Okay. And that's not going to affect the contract start date or anything like that?
No, we've been able to, Chelsea was actually able to work with Craig to look back and make sure that we are not impacting anyone financially by making the change.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the warrants. Anybody have any questions?
Just one, Mayor, on page 10, there's a cost there of $1,966 for Ennis and the Ennis and Reed study. And I'm wondering if the city manager can share with us what that is and how it reflects on our work in the city.
Of course, sir. Actually, I'm very glad you brought this one up. That is actually a bill for red paint. Our public works crew has been out doing a lot of labor that sometimes you contract out, but our staff has been diligent in doing the repainting of all the red curbs throughout the city. So they're doing a lot of work. That's one of the small things that sometimes gets overlooked, but thank you for pointing that out.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second for the warrants, please?
I'll move it.
Second.
Wendy, roll call vote, please.
I have a motion by Councilmember Turco, seconded by, I'm sorry, I got a little confused there. Who was the second?
I
Councilmember
second.
Bates. Okay, and then we have roll call, Mayor Hasselbrink.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dovey.
Aye.
Councilmember Bates.
Aye.
Councilmember Turco. Councilmember Turco.
Aye.
And Councilmember Nakolda.
Aye.
Okay, now on to consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be acted on by one motion unless a council member requests separate action on a specific item. Do I have any council that wants to pull an item?
Madam Mayor, items B and C for a quick comment.
Okay. And anybody else want to pull anything? Okay, and staff pulled G. G. Okay, so let's go ahead and Ron, go ahead and ask your questions and then we can just hopefully move them all.
Sure. On item B, I kind of mentioned this earlier. I'm hoping that in terms of our legislative action plan, we can ask the city manager to focus on that sales tax issue for us. I think it's a high enough of a priority, and it would help our city financially if that sales tax was more evenly distributed. I'll be happy as part of the Rev and Tax Committee of the League to work with the city manager at his discretion in order to try to, how should I say, really emphasize that as part of our legislative platform, because I think, again, it would make a financial difference to our city if it's enacted.
That's a terrific idea. Thank you. And then on item C.
My only comment on item C is, and I'll, if the city manager could comment on this, having worked in other cities, my concern sometimes is that we don't do a good enough job on destroying records when they need to be destroyed. And what then happens is litigation comes up on a particular item, and you're going back and trying to find records that you really are having difficulty locating because the judge has mandated that those go into court. So I just want to feel comfortable from the city clerk and from the city manager that this new records management program is really doing a good job of identifying those records which legally can be destroyed, and then are following through to make sure that we don't get those records drawn into a court case 10 years later and have to go back and try to find them when they're difficult to find. So if someone, either the city clerk or the city manager, would comment on that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, Mr. Bates. I will say that I do believe that we have a fairly robust system in place. And again, hats off to Wendy and her crew for making sure that we are keeping the documents that we need and getting rid of the ones we don't need. One place where I do think that we will be making some strides here in the near future is with our electronic documents and the items that we have within our system that we control. You're all aware that we've done a series of tech upgrades here in the last couple of months in order to both take care of security and internal control issues, but also to start to manage those documents more effectively. And Wendy has spearheaded that. And I think that with a few tweaks to our electronic retention schedule, I think that we'll be able to further get to the point that you're making, Mr. Bates, about having documents that we don't need to be holding on to and keeping them for a unspecified amount of time that we just don't need, quite frankly. And so that will be something that we will look to continue to upgrade as we go through this cycle.
Thank you.
Of course.
And Ron, I can also attest to when I started in council in 2014 to where we are now with our records management is night and day. Wendy took full ownership of this task. She included all the departments, and it's a clear-cut path to success, and she is the perfect person to keep that going. And I've seen the progress made over the past few years, so I'm very confident we'll withstand any judge's mandate.
Good, good.
Yeah. All right, and with that, can I get a motion to approve consent calendar items A through F?
So
I'll second.
Okay, and roll call vote, please.
We have a motion by Councilmember Bates, seconded by Councilmember Turco. Roll call, Mayor Hasselbrink.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Doby.
Yes.
Councilmember Bates.
yes.
Councilmember Turco. Councilmember Nafolda.
Yes.
Perfect. And now we get to move to our discussion item to be able to approve the employment agreement for the police chief. And Chet, I think this is your baby.
Yes. Well, as you all mentioned, we did have the walk of honor for Chief Nunez this afternoon. And I will say that he was gracious in terms of coming back and working for us while we went through this recruitment process. And I'm very excited to have our new chief, Mr. Claiborne, come on board and get started. He's joining a team that is, I think, completely revved up and ready to go in terms of what exactly they're looking to accomplish in the next year. And I know that he'll have some new ideas to bring to the table for us all to consider. He is a veteran of the Santa Ana Police Department, and I really believe that he is going to be a great match for our community. The contract obviously stipulates the pay, which I know Michael will go through as his requirement by the SB 1436 to make sure that we're following all those rules. And then we will have, once we are back in person at the February meeting, have the new chief come and do an introduction and be there to meet the public and the city council.
Okay, do I have any questions from any of the council colleagues? Wow. Okay, so can I get...
Sorry, Shelley.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mayor. If we could please have the city attorney do the report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot he was here. He was so quiet. All right, Michael, can you go ahead and do your thing?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. As noted by Chet, SB 1436 requires an oral report of the compensation that will be awarded pursuant to this contract. And as noted in this evening's staff report, per City Council approval, the new employment agreement with Mr. Claiborne will be effective January 18th, 2022. Mr. Claiborne will receive a monthly salary of $13,249.60. which is equal to Step E, Tier 1 of the Salary and Benefits Resolution for non-represented employees. And Mr. Claiborne's vacation bank will start with 40 hours and accrue at a rate of 21 years of service. He will also receive all benefits associated from the non-represented agreement 2021-25. And with that, I conclude this evening's verbal report.
Thank you. Okay, now I think I get to do my thing. All right, can I entertain a motion and a second for the approval of the employment agreement for police chief?
Motion.
Second.
All right, and no roll call vote, please.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Doby, seconded by Councilmember Bates. Roll call, Mayor Hasselbrink.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Doby.
Yes.
Councilmember Bates.
Yes.
Councilmember Turco.
Yes.
Councilmember Nafolda.
Yes.
All right, we have a new police chief. Thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned in memory of Marv Jemsa. The next meeting is Monday, February 28th. Hopefully in person, everybody will be well. And thank you very much. We're adjourned.